Well, the piece is called "The Devil You Know Is Better Than the Devil You Don't," and the name actually came from a Flannery O'Connor novel. She's one of my favorite writers. It started kind of in a couple of different ways, and one of them was that I just had this real interest in I think that the disconnect between what I believe and my morals are, or my values, and like the right and wrong thing to do, and then how that is so hard to line up sometimes in reality. And we started talking about it more as how that happens as children and as teenagers, because it's very cut and dry then. Mm-hmm. And I had really vivid memories of kind of always being the kid that everybody picked on, or just like, not even that everybody picked on, but just sort of the outcast kid. And then when like one day it wasn't my turn and it was somebody else's turn, that I would join in just as bad, or just as viciously. And knowing that it was wrong, but because it just finally wasn't my day, which is horrid. And then, that I would feel guilty and I'd feel bad and have all this sort of, angst about it. And so we started talking about that and how that basically I don't think really goes away much in adulthood, but that it just gets dissipated a little bit more due to sort of social constructs of being an adult. But that it stays with us, and that how it feels and what happens stays with us as well. And then I found this book by Philip Zimbardo, who did the Stanford prison experiments, and then he wrote that book, The Lucifer Effect. And then he was a witness in the Abu Ghraib trial, so he talked a lot about that. Nurture versus nature, and that people aren't like good or bad, essentially, that everybody has the capacity for evil, and everybody has the capacity for good, and that given certain situations we have no idea like how we would act. The pressure, sort of this externalized, omnipresent, unsort of nameable pressure can change us drastically. And that's kind of one of the main points of this book, is that this can happen to anybody, is that everybody has the capacity for good and bad.
I think the power of belonging and the power of exclusion, those are really powerful feelings, to be able to include or exclude someone, or to feel like you're part of a group by pushing someone else away. I feel like we do that a lot.
Well, I feel like it's a play on that, on the power of groupthink or group mentality. And when that is supportive and feels like your identity, and your identity is strong and clear, and when that is really confused and blurred with other people's identity, and you lose a sense of yourself.
We're all lined up in this like very narrow bars of light, and it's like various dancers get pulled out of the line, and they go into this. It's this very, to me, very dreamlike. It's a very floaty section. It's a very kind of like you're just floating over air, and then you get pulled, whipped back into the line and back into that kind of harnessed little formation.
In that moment, we've just been, part of a long group section of all dancing in unison and maybe breaking away, but always coming back together, sort of getting sucked back in. And at first, it feels like the first time that I can break away and stay broken away. I'm still trying to stay upright and still hold some tension. It's not completely released but it is a moment when all of the tension of trying to hold myself in line with the group at the same angles and the same timing and the same everything can just explode and be gone. And so I'm making my way across the stage, and then I really get to let it loose for 30 seconds until everyone comes into line, and then that line that shows up on the ground really snaps us all back into place.
In the beginning, there's a lot of synced, calibrated jumping and catching, and it's a lot of blind jumping and catching, where we're both kind of jumping and pulling away, and there's this counterbalance between us. It's so strong that it allows for a lot of pulling away to happen, but there's this connection. Further on in the piece, there's kind of a drop, and it's also kind of a drop in the music, and it's like we've plunged into some water, and it's just like the quality of the movement has changed. There's just a shift, and there's this moment where I kind of take my hand and kind of am going towards her face, and she kind of moves her head, and it's like I'm just missing her face with my hand. She's kind of a hologram, or she's in a different time, so she's kind of reappearing and appearing while I'm performing it with her. And so I kind of play with my focus and play with looking directly at her completely, you know, and then looking kind of away, or like she's not really there, or I just missed her. I think a lot of the things in the piece are very, have to do with your imagination and how well you can go there and be in the present moment enough so that you can, you know, create your story and have it manifest in your mind so that it manifests physically.
We talked a lot about, and for me what resonated is the idea of those very close friendships of young girls, the best friends forever kind of, when you have someone that you're so close to that you want to become them. And those friendships where you dress alike and you almost lose yourself in this friendship. And then the capacity for cruelty within that relationship. Almost that testing love through pain. The very end was actually the first thing that was created, which was called Cattle.
Cattle, I think, partially has to do with almost like a flocking herd.
The image that she at least told me about was like young elementary school girls, like this pack of rabid schoolgirls with the little skipping and all like and we call this like the cheerleaders. Like it has this like that kind of like overt feminine, again, cruelty.